Are you joking?
So, after what has been a few months, we're finally back with another review slash thing. Now, before we start, the replay you're about to see is old. I think it's from 9.4 or so. The reason I'm showing you this particular replay is because it was the best game I had in the ISU so far. I think, maybe. I lose a lot of replays. You're pretty much just gonna see camping, but that's what the ISU is best at, so deal with its group. I'm playing together with one of my old clanmates, and he's driving the okay, with the 15cm gun, sorry, and two tongs with the average damage of 750. Camping together is an interesting combo, as you're about to see. Now, when I first got the ISU, I constantly played it with average damage of 750, a pen of 286, and the hand of Stalin behind the wheel. You know, there's a good reason people call it the base cannon. Now, there's also a reason why they call the ISU a troll tank. One of many, of course. The thing is like a good wife. It'll treat you nice, pour you a glass of nice premium Ruski vodka while you sit in your lounge chair, and you'll thank her. But the next thing you know, she's gonna kick you in the balls, punch you in your face, take the glass of vodka and shove it right up your frickin' ass. Basically, what I'm saying is that 1 second it will behave like you would expect from a Russian tank destroyer, and the shell will hit exactly where you aim, even more so. And the other second you'll be aiming at the mouse's sight on Himmelsdorf, and the shell will take down the goddamn Hubble telescope. Actually, I think I just described most of the Russian tanks right here. But anywho, not all is sunshine and rainbows with the ISU. The mobility is a bit on the bad side. Turning is horrendous compared to other Ts, with some exceptions of course. Insert T28 pick. The reload is about 16 seconds, 3.4 aim time and a dispersion of 0.41. But that is to be expected if the thing's got a freaking doom cannon mounted on it. Now let's go to the history, because the history of the ISU is very interesting, I guess. December of 1941, the Russian forces counterattacked the Germans and pushed them out of Moscow. While the counterattack was still in progress, and the Germans were being pushed further and further back, the Ruskies figured that they will soon encounter the Germans' heavy fortified defenses. Now, what they needed was a machine that could easily break through the enemy's fortified line, as is the Roshki. They took the chassis of a KV-1S, a 152mm howitzer cannon, some armor plates, a supply of vodka and a lock, and mixed that shit together. And thus, the prototype was finished in record time, 20 days. The SPG was accepted into service under the name ISU-152 on the 14th of February 1943. Now, before it was used for its intended purpose, the ISU received its baptism by fire in the Battle of Kursk in the July of 1943 as a powerful anti-tank weapon. If you know anything about the Battle of Kursk, is that it was one of the biggest armored offensives in history. It was fought between the Germans and the Russians, so as the Germans had the new shiny Tigers and Panthers, the Russians had the KV-1, the T-34, and you know, those guns on those little tanks don't really match up to the armor of the Panther and the Tiger, so this is where the ISU-152 came in. It could easily punch through both enemy tanks from 1.5 kilometers away, and even if it didn't penetrate, the 50kg shell was so powerful that it pretty much smashed whatever it hit. So, because of this, the Soviet soldiers named the ISU Zveroboy, aka Animal Hunter or Animal Slayer or Animal Killer, whichever you prefer, I guess. So, as it surprisingly turned out, the ISU was solving most of the problems the Ruskies had on the battlefield. Pillboxes, anti-tank emplacements, enemy lines with heavy fortifications and so on. Everything went phew. Because of the howitzer gun, the ISU could issue direct and indirect fire, meaning it could shoot over obstacles and over friendly attacking troops. So it provided fire support to the advancing friendly forces. It could destroy a 1 meter thick reinforced wall with ease, and that's from 1.5 kilometers away. But as with any great tank, the ISU had a lot of problems. Because it was based on the chassis of a KV-1S, it also inherited its problems. So when the KV-1S stopped production, so did the ISU. 670 SPGs were made in total. And after all this time, we finally get the ISU into the story. The Russians started producing the IS heavy tank. Same story, they took the chassis, slapped on the gun, called it a day. The ISU-152 was born, finally! There was no real difference between the two SPGs models, honestly. The most dramatic change was the sloping. The ISU was less sloped in the front, but had more armor thickness to compensate for that. It also had an actual steering mechanism instead of the side clutches, so instead of the lever for each side of the tracks, for each track I guess. Now the task remained the same: destroy fortifications, give fire support and kill enemy tanks. The SPG was also used in urban firefights for destroying houses where the enemy infantry was like into. So it was used for destroying the fire emplacement in a house. I read that it pretty much annihilated the whole floor and that usually collapsed the whole building. So imagine that being in there, like holy shit. That's it for the history I guess of the ISU, Zveroblade. I actually quite enjoy that. Hope you guys aren't bored too much. If you like the history, you can also tell me down below. If not, I'm gonna try to cut it back. Now back to the game. I stopped playing the ISU a long while back. Honestly, I can't remember why. I took it for a few spins again so I could do this review video thingy. But it was totally different from what I remember, honestly. A lot more fun. A lot more fun. Maybe it's because I didn't possess nowhere near the elite SWAT skills back then, which I possess now. That tells you a lot, to be honest, how good I am. Don't get me wrong, shaving half of your opponent's HP is enough fun by itself, with one shot, but when you're reloading, you're a sitting duck. I remember getting circled a lot back then. Now honestly, I think a POG could circle this thing, but in the end, what decides if you'll do good in it will be decided by your team and the map. Obviously, also your luck with Stalin, but that goes without saying, yeah. There are two ways you can play this tank. One is obviously cambush, like you saw earlier, and the other is use it up front, which I would not advise to the beginners. Stay behind the allied tanks, peek around corners, shoot, hide, reload, repeat. But keep in mind, like I said, the turning is really bad. Keep in mind that the name alone is a hell of a deterrent for the enemy team. People are automatically scared of it. Also the long reload time when you're in close quarters. When you shoot, your opponent will use that relatively long window and charge your Russian ass. It doesn't end well. So if you're wondering if you should go for this tank, the answer is from me personally, yes, definitely. The cannon alone should convince you. But of course, keep in mind that it won't always work as a cannon should. That's the Russian way. Well, I think I rambled on long enough. I wanted to make this video a bit longer because it is about the ISU. It's also a bit different from my other tank videos, trying to add different ways to make these. Feedback is appreciated as always. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me if you don't like the history so I know to cut it back. But yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed. And we'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys!